Kay. Kaylee Crossfire.
Oh no, this Nisha Nashe.
Whoa. She from here?
Nope, she from like Houston or something.
Okay. Nice. I'm ready, Josh.
All right, bet.
She's rowdy. She's rowdy.
On what though? All right, here we go.
Somebody rowdy. Hey. You hear that? You on?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, good morning. We are live right here. This is the Educational Arts Project. I'm your host, Viva Fidel. This is where we check in Thursday mornings right here live, the Pulse of Milwaukee, 101.3 FM, right on your radio dial. Good morning, good morning. We always start out, thanking all of our returning listeners and making sure we thank all of our guests from the past and all of the supporters and people who underwrite and support this station, all the people behind the scenes. We always start out by saying good morning and thank you to all of the new listeners, people who are just turning in and tuning in to 101.3 for the first time. We encourage you to keep spreading the word about this community voice. We encourage you to keep telling all your friends and your family and listen up to all the voices that are here on this station on a weekly basis. It's a lot of great information that's shared and disseminated on the airwaves right here, 101.3. This morning is no exception. We always have some great conversations here on the Educational Arts Project, starting really from a creative lens, from a free and independent perspective, and always I like to introduce my listening audience to some great associates, friends, comrades, pillars, giants, people that I happen to know very well and know that I really like. I know that they have something rich to offer my audience. And again, today is no exception. I'm excited and I'm honored this morning to be able to introduce my audience to my guests. For those of you all tuning in online, y'all know how it go. We on the Periscopes live, we on the Twitter feed and all that fun stuff. You can reach out to Viva Fidel on all the social medias. This conversation from the Educational Arts Project, it is ongoing. It doesn't just happen on Thursday mornings. A lot of people, they give me feedback throughout the week and they tend to talk about the different episodes and the different guests. It's an ongoing conversation that we like to have. So feel free to chime in, feel free to reach out again, and make sure you check out the archived episodes, because it's some incredible sessions, some incredible stories shared, and I can't state that enough. All right? I'm setting this up so my guest this morning can share. I'm just like, it was almost too easy. It was almost too easy. I'm like, this is special. I have to chase people down. I have to hunt people down. Now, somebody canceled on me, so I had to call somebody last minute, and they came through for me, and I'm just very appreciative for that. My requests don't usually come at this late hour, but she came through for me, and I'm honored. Miss Zenyab Ali is in the building this morning. How you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Speak up into the mic a little bit.
Awake.
You awake?
Yeah.
You alive?
Mm-hmm.
You electric?
I'm not used to it, but I am.
You're not a morning person?
No.
Not really? Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you for making time this morning. I appreciate it.
Definitely.
I appreciate it immensely because, like I said, it was the last minute, and you came through. I want to allow you to introduce yourself to the audience before we really crank it up. I know you've been in the public a lot lately.
Yeah.
You've been on the mic a lot lately. I've been seeing your name a lot, doing a lot of things, and so I know you're pretty familiar with the mics and all that good stuff. So go ahead.
Sort of. I'm getting used to it.
You're getting used to it.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself to the people.
But yeah, I'm Zenyab Ali. I'm a youth activist. I'm currently an author now. I'm not used to the whole public thing, but I'm getting used to it because usually I don't like you know, publicity and all that stuff. But I've been a part of a lot of things in the past. I was a 9th District representative on the Milwaukee Council, Youth Council. I've been working with like several issues as a youth activist, I guess since I was like 12. Just working on things like gun violence, because obviously that's a big problem, not only in our city, but just nationwide. And just kind of speaking out against it from a youth perspective. Because oftentimes, we always have the adults in the room in like conferences and meetings and all that, but no one ever wants to hear from, you know, a youth perspective, because they're the ones that are going through the struggle, you know, living throughout it. We don't think about how, you know, that's going to affect them traumatically. And that makes it harder for them in terms of like schooling and even in their personal life. So that's the perspective I try to bring in. And also poverty, because that's something my family personally experienced, you know, growing up in Africa. Not to mention that I was also a former refugee from Kenya. So I was born in Kenya, but my family, or my parents, are from Somalia. So I fit in like a lot of backgrounds.
And that's part of the reason why I initially wanted you to have this interview. And that's also what you said is also how I initially heard about you from students. They were telling me about this young lady that they were like, do you know her? You should meet her. And she's doing this and she's doing that. And April, we do a book drive for the True Knowledge Library. And they were like, she also has a book. And this came from like 3 or 4 students. And I said, wow, okay, I should know who she is then now, since they are telling me. And thank you for my copy of the book, by the way. And you and I reached out and you ended up coming to our True Knowledge book anniversary event at True School to share a little bit about your story as an author. And what we try to do with that scenario is encourage young people that are already writers and artists and designers to think about how they could maybe publish their story or publish their illustrations. How do they take their concept all the way through to completion and then share it, you know, with the public, whether it's on a digital scale or whether not a digital scale. That wasn't the right way I wanted to say that. Not on a digital scale, Fidel. We're not talking about that. We're talking about actually on a from a digital platform, or we're thinking maybe a hard copy of print, you know, because a lot of people don't understand the value maybe of printing books. A lot of people may not be avid book readers. So it's part of the way we promote literacy, but it's also part of the way we try to get young people to think about how they can publish their story and their art in a bigger way. So that was one of the things that sparked my interest naturally. I haven't had a chance to really read or review the book. And now the book is called Cataclysm, Secrets of the Horn of Africa. Zenyab Ali is with me here this morning. You can look up her book. You can purchase it online. Is there a website available or any contact info? I like to make sure people can follow along while we're talking.
ZenabAli.com. It's also available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble online only.
So let's backtrack a little bit. How long have you been in Milwaukee?
Since 2008, because I can't do math.
Okay. So not that long,
Yeah.
almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And so making an impact here locally, it comes from a deep-rooted place for you.
Definitely, yeah.
And I want to go into a little bit of that walk. Tell us a little bit about your story and sort of the inspiration from whence you come.
So my parents, when they were younger, a civil war took place in their native country of Somalia. And so that caused like pretty much the whole population to move into a safer place. And at the time, Kenya was like the closest place they could go to for refuge. And that's when the UN intervened and also the government of Kenya. And so refugee camp was established there, and that's where my parents met, and that's where I ended up being born. And that's where I started understanding the whole aspect of poverty. I didn't really understand what was going on because I was young and all I remember was playing around as a kid. But I didn't think about the struggles my parents faced. My mom made a living with piercing ears, and that wasn't something you could do every day because no one pierced their ears or anything every single day, so she didn't make a lot of money from that. And my father, he would go to Nairobi, which is a city in Kenya, to make a living selling goods for merchants. So we didn't make money there, but there was a lot of struggle financially, and obviously we lived in like a deserted area, so there was like nothing much to life growing up. But the war was all like political, economic related, clan related wars and things like that. And so it made it harder for people. But I still have relatives there. It's just even more difficult now with the whole terrorism that's taking place in the country. And then famine is a big problem in Somalia. So it's pretty hard. But that's where I can relate to folks in Milwaukee with, poverty and things like that. And violence is obviously there because, it's a civil war that took place. It didn't escape the camps either. It's supposed to be a safer place for families, but you still have like bandits coming in and, terrorist groups, kidnapping UN workers and things like that. It's still there. So I've been through it all. Yeah.
And my goodness, my throat is real itchy this morning. There's a lot of history, and there's a lot of, like you said, politics involved in the layers of a lot of the conversations that we end up having once we talk to Africans from the continent. Mm-hmm. I think it's so important to have those intersecting conversations with Africans in America and Africans from the continent to be able to really start to open up a lot of new conversation, new dialogues, new understandings, new commonalities. And so not only you being a youth voice, because that's been one of my things all summer. I've been chasing down young people, trying to get some young people to come on the show at Thursday morning. Is quite difficult. However, because I respect it 1,000%. But however, you having all of these different unique ways of expression and unique access points, it all goes to, I'm just really happy that I see you being able to share your story and talking to a lot of different people about your journey. I just think it's truly important. And tell us about the inspiration behind the book.
So growing up, I just remember coming into this new country because my family came into the United States November 23rd, 2004. We were first settled in Louisville, Kentucky. And so I just remember like, okay, I understand I'm in a new place, but like, why am I here? I had a great childhood growing up in Kenya. I want to know why we had to leave all of a sudden, like no warnings or anything. So my mom was telling me about the war that took place in Somalia in my childhood. She didn't really go into deep, understanding of it because I was still young and I wouldn't really understand what was going on. But as I kept seeing a lot of UNICEF commercials and things like that, it started making sense to me. But I also had, I didn't really understand my cultural, aspect, like who I was. So I had like a kind of life crisis sort of thing. I knew that we were from Kenya, but I didn't understand like why there were like two sets of different Somalis or, just things like that. in terms of like the historical background of it. So my mom, as we went along throughout the year, she started telling me about who we were and all those things, you know, as a Somali Bantu. Because there were some times in my childhood where I thought, well, we must be like the only Muslims in the universe, because I wasn't used to seeing a lot of Muslims too. But I've always wanted to like research that, who I was, like in terms of like, you know, the whole clan-based related things. So I started doing my own research because I wasn't really getting anywhere with my parents. They've never went to school, so they couldn't really tell me much. And I always thought of, you know, recording all the things I've been through to educate others, and also for, you know, my future siblings to remember. I mean, because once you get adjusted to a new place, you kind of adapt to that place and you forget where you're from. But my dad would like tell us stories about his childhood and things like that, and he always asked like for us to record it on like a recorder. But I always thought, well, that's not gonna, you know, last long, so I might as well like write in a journal or something. But it ended up forming into a book. The first thing I did was kind of go into what it means to be a Somali Bantu, so how our people eventually came into Somalia. Since there were like two types of Somalis, I had to figure out like where my people came from, and I ended up finding out that we were actually slaves from a different part of Africa, but we were shipped to Somalia, and we ended up, you know, getting adjusted to that society. And,
all right, slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down. I want to get in there a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a great teaching moment for my audience. When you say two types of Somalians, for example, just break that down.
There's the nomadic Somalis who say their ancestries are traced down from Arabs. So it's like Arab people marrying into black folks and eventually creating Somali people. Whereas us, we were slaves from like Mozambique, Tanzania, which are other Eastern Central African countries.
Okay.
But we were shipped into Somalia as slaves, you know, to work for the Arab slave trade and whatever.
Or walked.
Yeah.
Not necessarily shipped.
A walk? No, we were shipped, apparently.
Okay.
I don't know, because there's not even a sea in that area.
Yeah.
I don't know how we were shipped.
Maybe went
but
all the way around the bottom.
yeah, I guess. The slave trade. Yeah. But that's what I found out. That's something my parents never told me, or they wouldn't have known anyway, because they were never educated.
Interesting. And so a lot of that information and education that came as you start growing up here in America, ultimately. So I always like to, you know, slow down the process of the transition, even as for say a child when you came here. How was the initial cultural shock for you?
One of the things, well, first of all, I wasn't used to seeing white people. Like, I've always grew up with seeing black folks. And all the, you know, the black folks that I saw, like, we were all Muslims. I didn't know any other religion either. And even the holidays was a shock to me, too. It was one of the first things I remember is our first 4th of July. My mom thought it was the Civil War all over again because she heard the loud bang and then all that. So she hid us under the bed because she thought it was gunshots. And we also lived in a bad neighborhood, but she just didn't know like what 4th of July was, and obviously we didn't either. And even for school, adjusting to a new environment because I didn't know any English at the time. Back in Kenya, I was only in nursery school, so we only like sang Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and all that. We never learned anything. So it's hard for me to communicate with my teacher and also students too.
How difficult was it for you to learn English?
Uh, so it's much easier when you're younger
Oh yeah.
because you're just basically mimicking everything. But I had a really great ESL teacher. ESL just means English Second Language. And so most of the time throughout the school we spent with her, so we weren't really working just like the other students.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was mostly like during math class, which is why I was always bad at math because I was never there to learn it. I was always in ESL, back and forth, learning to read and write. And I mean, I learned English pretty quick because she would always put on like interactive websites like PBS Kids and things like that. So I was able to adapt to that. And also back at home, my dad was very strict too. So he always had us read books and write stories, whether it's just like copying what was already written from another book or just, making up our own stories. So we were already kind of being taught at home as well. So that made it easier for me.
And that's definitely one of the things that we frame here on the Education Arts Project. If you're just joining us, Zenyab Ali is right here. She's a teen activist and author right here, knee deep in the city of Milwaukee, doing a lot of great work with a lot of great people. And tell us some of the feedback, some of the response you've been getting from the Cataclysm, Secrets of the Horn of Africa, the book.
That it's a college textbook. That's what I get a lot, actually. Because the first part is a lot of history, which I was afraid of because originally my target was teens, especially teens who are of Somali descent because they don't know about their history. We left our country so young, but we were never taught, about our culture and the history of our country. So that was my initial target. But I am told a lot that it's like a college textbook because of the history. I just felt like, I just felt like people don't know where Somalia is or Kenya or don't know anything about those countries.
Without a doubt, yeah.
So I thought I'd give them a crash course before I get to the memoir.
Even, contemporary people don't really have a clue. So imagine history.
Exactly.
People really don't have a clue. And unfortunately, a lot of times immigrants from no matter where they're from, a lot of times they will do exactly as you said, and they will sort of forget about their origins almost to assimilate and to become a part of society, if you will. And here in America, that's really it's a stressful sort of situation to do that, even if you didn't come here by choice. If you had to come here by force, it's just a lot of layers that especially young people I know have to deal with when it comes down to connecting with their roots, ultimately connecting with their heritage, connecting with their history. So it's really important what you put together to be able to share not only with, like you said, fellow Somalians or Kenyans, but also even for others who don't know the story, who don't understand. It's unfortunate that a lot of the ancient, yes, but not even also ancient history and how can you say the infrastructure of the civilizations throughout Africa and the different countries and the different tribes and the different religions and the different bodies of government, a lot of that history is always decimated.
Yeah.
It's not even that it's whitewashed or kept a secret. It's destroyed a lot of times.
Exactly. That's why I added basically the truth, because a lot of conflicts in Africa, it all has to do with European colonization.
That's right, and they have to,
make that point.
Decimate the people's story and history, and they have to uproot everything that makes them original to supplant themselves.
Exactly, because right now people look at Somalia like, what's wrong with the country? And it's made in a way that it's us black people, we can't get our, stuff together. That's how we're portrayed in the media. But
or
really,
if
you go back,
or they just over there thugging, they just over there pirating. They just over there pirating. They just thugging. They just ruthless and unruly, and they don't care. It's a lot of misinformation and really just dangerous propaganda that happens, especially in the media here.
Yeah, I see it all.
I'm sure. And that's why, again, I can't stress it enough. This is so critical. I haven't had a chance to really flip through it. My father told me he looked at your book and he was like blown away just by your ability to put words together.
Somehow.
Yeah, because just because you're a researcher don't mean you're a good writer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to be able to make something really cohesive that tells your own personal story, but also digs into this other deep research, is a different kind of narrative. And like you said, especially coming from a young person, people don't really typically see that or hear that enough, unfortunately.
Right.
So people tell you it's like a college book. People tell you it's heavy research level. What kind of like support, like is this book been getting? Like are people, is it flying off of the shelves? Is it sold out of all stores? Where can they find it? Let's shout that information out again.
Well, most people get it mainly from Amazon.
Okay.
So it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, but only online because I haven't been able to actually get books in stores yet.
Okay.
That involves a lot of marketing.
Okay.
But yeah, I have been getting that it's, all college level, and I hope it's not, because that's not the purpose. I just know there's a lot of questions that I know young people have that they're probably never going to find out, from other places. So that's what that was.
Mm-hmm.
I know a class in UWM purchased like a whole stack of it as like a research thing.
So now it is a college level manuscript book.
It was used for research.
It's
I
just
don't
research.
really know.
Well,
Yeah.
That's big though.
Yeah.
I salute that. That's huge. Because those students come from all over the place.
Yeah, they do.
And so they get a chance to get some real reality straight.
I was actually able to come during their class and do a presentation on it while they were studying. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. And let's get into the idea of that publishing aspect. So you thinking about putting I read that you had a blog at 12 and you were writing, putting things together.
Yeah.
So then you decided, I'm gonna take some of my notes, I'm gonna take some of these stories, I'm gonna take some of this research I've been doing, and I'm gonna compile a book. Did that just wake you up out of your sleep one night? When did that occur, when you just decided that was gonna be the thing?
Well, actually, it's because immigration started to be like a big issue.
Locally here in Milwaukee, you noticed that.
Yeah, but it's also nationally.
Sure.
I mean, during the campaign last year, that was like a big topic. And I also remember that during the school life, I had a hard time understanding my teachers and even classmates. And I know there's a lot of story at home, like personal life, all those struggles that I go through, which makes it hard for me in school because I have a lot of pressure with having immigrant parents. And I thought, well, people really need to know this because I don't want others assuming that I'm being a certain way, because I was strange, very strange in my school years. I wanted to know why I was I wanted them to know why I was acting the way I was, because I was very quiet antisocial, but I wasn't doing it intentionally. It's just because I had a lot of responsibilities at home, and I'm thinking about that, how I'm supposed to do all the, things that I have there, responsibilities, and then also focus on school, which was hard. There were periods where I was, thinking about, how kids who go through, think about suicide, go through. So I was like, maybe there are other immigrants, immigrant kids facing the same struggle. So I kind of want to spread awareness to that issue so that, teachers start to feel sympathetic towards us and not punish us for how we are. Because growing up, I remember because I couldn't speak English, I would blame for things from other students and I would get in trouble for it. And I thought maybe that's something other kids are facing too. And also like why it's so hard for some of us to comprehend in school, because it's really not our fault, because our parents are also going through PTSD, so we're like a second parent to not only them but also our siblings. And then try to balance that with school, that's really like intense for a young kid. And I was going through all these emotions since I was like 11. So I needed to, start jotting things down. And one of the reasons or one of the ways that I dealt with those type of tensions was writing. So the day that I had an argument with my mom because she didn't understand the things that I was going through, I would jot it down in my little journal that I had at the time. And it was like a stress reliever for me. So I was like, this is working for me, so I could literally just turn this into a memoir and just talk about how life been, really tough for me. With just being in America, but also having immigrant parents. So that's pretty much how it turned into a book.
This is autobiographical?
Slash history.
Slash history.
I wouldn't say autobiography, it's a memoir.
It's a memoir.
Yeah, because
okay.
I'm not talking about myself.
Entirely.
Yeah.
Right. But your story, you are telling your journey through
yeah.
it as well. And towards the end, you start talking more about
issues that I care about.
Yeah, today stuff. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Indeed. So it's a very relevant, current level book too. I don't want people to get it confused like it's just traveling back into 200-300 years ago of tribal warfare in Africa and Somalia. No, it is that, but it's also walking you up into modern day today. Yeah. How that relates to Milwaukee, mm-hmm. how that relates to the community that you all live in today. Now that's critical, and that's a point of connection that I think is super valuable. Again, and I had Yvonne Ocello, who is an attorney, who is also from Kenya, here on my show a couple weeks ago, and she told a little bit about her inspiration and her story, and she was inspired to get into law. Because of some of her upbringing and seeing things of a conflict nature growing up. And so, all of those inspirations and a lot of those sparks come young, yeah. And so one of the things we like to communicate here is the importance on that parenting level, education level. We have a lot of teachers and educators, classroom and otherwise, who come here and talk about, how do we inspire young people? How do we reach our young creatives, our young authors, writers, poets, the future performers and painters and the people who will be thought influencers from a different level and maybe not go into traditional politics, maybe not go into traditional education or, institutional sort of traditional framework, but they might do something different, but still touch the masses, still reach people and connect people. And help people. And so what you're doing again is that important. Tell me, what's some of the feedback from young people as you've been telling your story? I know some of the feedback because they've told me about it, but have young people been inspired to tell their story and want to compile their memoirs or their journals?
Yeah.
Have you been able to help young people talk them through that process of what that may look like?
I had a lot of young folks ask me about like the process of publishing books.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they've told me that they've been inspired to write their own stories too, which I highly encourage, because not every story is the same, and also it's a great way to get kids get their creativity flowing.
It's great therapy as well.
Yeah.
Internally,
Mm-hmm.
regardless what you offer into the world, it's something internally that happens.
Yeah.
When you're able to do that.
Because they could be out in the streets, but they want to, write stories. They want their voices heard. So those are the things that I've been getting, and I've been given like feedbacks on how, to publish, where to start, and things like that. So I got a lot of those.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of inspiring messages.
So do you have an answer to that question? Because we have to ask that question. If a young person come up to you and they say, "Hey, I got 5 journals, I got 9 diaries. What do I do? How do I go about that?" What would you say?
I mean, I would be willing to sit down with them and actually help. Because I did it by myself, and I wish I also had support and help from others as well. So I know how hard it is to publish a book. I would definitely be willing to sit down and help them out with it.
So that's interesting. Now that you have published it and you put it out and you did it and you shown proof, have you been getting help and support to, I guess, push it to the next level?
I would say I get support from the community, and how great the book is, and how it's inspiring others to talk about
and you got UWM to buy but not like a classroom level. Okay, so that's interesting. And when did you put it out? Just to be clear.
It came out on November 30th, 2016.
Awesome.
But
awesome.
I've been working on it 2 years before that.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a lifelong journey, a process. I'm sure I didn't never know exactly like when it came out, but that's awesome. And keep us informed. Let me know what I can do, and let me know what we can do as far as helping to share it with more people and get it out to a wider audience, if that's the goal.
Definitely is. I've been asked about book signing and book reading events, which I'm open to do, but there's a lot of financial stuff in the back, that I have to do.
So shoot out your contact information one more time. Catalyst, Secrets of the Horn of Africa is the name of the book.
Yeah.
Cataclysm, I'm sorry. What did I say, Catalyst?
Yeah.
Because you're a catalyst. Sorry. Cataclysm, Secrets of the Horn of Africa. ZenyabAli.com.
Yeah.com.
Is where you can get more information. ZEYNABALI, Zeynab Ali is where you can go and get information, and or also order your copy of the book, and book her for speaking engagements or book signing or any of that fun stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome, and I think more schools definitely should see how they could utilize your literary offering, but also bring you to communicate to other young people. Because seeing is believing. When young people see other young people doing things, I'm telling you, they told me about you. And they was like, "Yo, you know her? You seen her? She got a book," and they were excited for you. And so it's just a great reflection.
Yeah, it's a lot of shock, but like I'm glad to see right now. Nowadays, I see a lot of young Black kids doing extraordinary things. I mean, there's young people starting businesses at age 10,
That's right.
and I'm just honored to be part of that legacy, I guess.
Yep, indeed. It's a good time. Wow, I just opened up to page 208, and I see some familiar names in this book.
Yeah, there is a whole chapter about Milwaukee, just like all the people I met and how they helped me start getting into activism.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
This is awesome. So what's in the future? What's coming up? I know you said you are currently at Artworks, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm an intern at Artworks currently right now, just for the summer.
Okay.
But I am, as for college, and I will be starting next month.
Okay.
I'll be getting into like business, and something that I've always wanted to do was have my own business. Business is in like my family's blood, So I want to carry that.
What kind
with
of
me.
business, Dr. Ali?
They had sort of like a convenience store type of thing. Both of my grandpas from my mom and dad's side had like small convenience stores in Somalia. As for me, I'm trying to get into the fashion industry because I love fashion. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And also law. I plan to go to law school.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you Miss Juneteenth? Is that what I'm saying here?
Oh yeah, yeah. It
You were?
was.
Wow.
It was 3 of us actually.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, we were like the only applicants, so they were like,
Oh.
"You might as well be the Miss Juneteenth of
See,
this year."
you so humble. You so humble.
Yeah,
you
I
didn't have
was
to add that
like-
part of the story. You could just say, "Yeah, I was Miss Juneteenth," and just ran with it.
I
And it still would have
know,
been true.
But
Yeah.
it was like it was just great to have 3, Black queens.
That's
there,
right.
You know?
That's right. That's right. That's beautiful. That's right. Big shout out to the other 2 Black queens, wherever
Yeah.
you are out there. The other 2 Miss
I don't remember
Juneteenths.
the other one's
See,
name.
see,
but
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. That's awesome. And so,
That's my grandma.
wow. In Tanzania,
Yeah.
wow. And so, when you going back home?
See, that's a problem because of the immigration ban or whatever that happened in January. Since I'm a green card holder, I'm not really a citizen. Well, I'm not a citizen yet at all.
Mhm.
That's what I'm working on right now.
Mhm.
I can't go visit my country. I have to be very cautious about it. But initially, I did plan to go this summer to help out in the refugee camp. But because of the immigration policy right now, I have to
So
be
what that
careful.
mean? Does that mean you might be able to leave but might not be able to come back?
Yeah, that's what my
Ultimately?
parents were afraid of.
Yeah.
That I could leave and not come back.
Mhm.
Somalia is one of those countries that are listed.
Mhm.
And even though I'm born in Kenya, it still affects me because I'm a Somali. So
Aww.
I was 6.
Wow.
Yeah, I have to be careful. So I have to wait till I'm a citizen before I do that.
Mhm. But that is in the plans.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
awesome.
working on it.
That's great. And so, what's one of the things that you're doing at, artworks or currently in the community that you want people to know about?
Well, right now, this whole summer actually, I just been kind of supporting other teens who are doing.
You've been active.
Yeah, well, not really, not as active as I wanted to be, because right now I was just kind of trying to. Since I'm starting college soon, I needed to save
Slow
money
down.
somehow.
Yeah.
But at Artworks right now, we're like creating products and selling them. So it's kind of like my pre-education going into business right now. So, but one of the biggest issues that we've been talking about this year is the whole lead issue. So I've been helping the water warriors out with their with addressing their lead problem.
Tell my audience who the Water Warriors are.
As far as I know, they're students from North Division who are talking about the lead issue, how that is going around in MPS schools. A lot of the schools have a lead issue, and I know like 1 or 2 of the schools, it's like over 90% of lead in the water. So they're talking about that, and they're actually having a march this Saturday to address that issue, and I'm one of the speakers at Sherman Park.
What time on Saturday?
It will start at 2 p.m. I don't know when it's ending.
2 p.m. at Sherman Park?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the Million Youth March.
Okay, people. Okay, people. Now y'all know. This Saturday, Million Youth March,
Yep.
Sherman Park,
Mhm.
2 o'clock.
Yep. And I know you're also having a block party.
Yep, we're having a Million
Saturday.
Block Party March downtown at the Market Center for the Performing Arts.
Which I'll be there by.
Thank you for reminding
Yeah.
me to mention that. Yeah, we're doing a huge block party event and a boat cruise if you're 21 and up and you're interested in getting out on the waters and having your way with the grown folks. You might want to hurry up and go get your tickets. TrueSchool.org is where you get your tickets from, TRUESKOOL. And also, the block party is 12 to 6 and it's free. So you also can do both. You can go to the block party and go to the water warrior demonstration at Sherman Park. And we want to encourage, I always tell my guests and my audience if there's things that's going on that we should be talking about, and we need to be spreading the news about things that are positive, things that are progressive, things that our young people especially are putting together and initiating. We need to get behind it and make sure there's some support there. And so if it's anything else that you all have coming up, throughout the summer or in the fall, into the fall, just make sure you hit me up with it, because that's relevant to my platform here on the Educational Arts Project. I can always shoot that kind of information out. I can't announce all the party business and a lot of the other stuff that people send me, but however, if it's community-minded things and if it's related to, our young people taking leadership, if it's in regards to resources for our families, let's share that information. Let's make sure as many people as possible know about it. Let's make sure as many people as possible got access to the resources. And a lot of times those resources are those human resources, those relationships, those connections of people that are already doing great things, and how they can end up collaborating and cooperating. That's important. There'll be a Circulate Creative Entrepreneur Market at the block party this Saturday, and there's going to be some amazing vendors that'll be there sharing some of their creative, original, unique things, products, wares, art, all of that fun stuff. And our youth are also acknowledging the water. They are, our youth at True School have been working hard with Milwaukee Water Commons and creating messaging in-house, and also we're creating a mural live art demonstration that'll be done on Saturday for people to engage, and they can actually help and paint with some of our lead artists. But it's about water education and about that tap water and about the need for some immediate action. I actually have Miss Brenda Coley from the Water Commons on the Educational Arts Project early next month. She'll come back to give us an update. There was just a big public hearing where the public voice was shut down recently, and that's not okay. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to share a lot of updates in regards to the lead levels and what the government is saying and or not doing about it. And so I applaud that work. We look forward to seeing you all, not just you, but the whole artworks.
Yeah. They
got to come in and represent. What kind of products y'all developing?
Right now it's like jewelry related things.
Okay.
We're making bath bombs, so from scratch, so not the ones from stores.
Awesome.
Those are the two products.
Bath bombs from scratch.
Yeah.
Nice. And that's one of the things that we definitely want to encourage a lot of adults and parents and a lot of youth leaders and advocates. Encourage your young people to create and develop things, not just consume and buy things.
Right.
That's part of the Educational Arts Project as well. That's part of the education and the arts. That's fun. You got any last words for the people you want to share?
Well, I would say one thing that really annoys me right now is that...
Okay, hold on. Let me reframe that question. Is there anything that really annoys you right now?
Yeah.
Because you seem so peaceful and calm and refined. Is there anything that just really pisses Zeynab off and annoys you?
A lot of things do.
Sure.
But I would just say...
What's one right now?
When people don't acknowledge our young people, because a lot of them are right now like getting to very good things like taking action, but we're not always there to support them. We seem to like shut them down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been to conferences and meetings with adults and politicians.
That's right.
And they're talking about youth issues, but there's no youth present.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like the only two people there. It's always me and Kaylin Haywood. And, like, I mean, those issues don't even affect us, so I feel bad. Like, why would we speak against something we have no experience of? Right. So that really annoys me, and also how we, like, make our youth seem like they're the root of all evil, basically.
I'm telling you.
But they're the ones that are doing all these things. This Million Youth March, it was all organized by a 15-year-old. Yep.
What we, we stand on a mantra, a phrase, a conversation piece that we like to say is a slogan, promote the positive. And that all started, and Summer of Peace all started because of that very reason.